Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it. Hey guys, it's Adam here, and welcome to PlayLoad. This is all my video game pickups for the month of November 2021, and it's, what a month. Like, the last few months have been completely insane, and I keep thinking it's about to calm down, and then it like goes nuts. This may not look like much, but there was a time in the olden days when, you know, you had just like one shot and that was kind of everything. Now it's like breaking up into multiple sequences, and this is actually going to be 4 sequences. Again, we've got this stuff, we got some packages, we have some like consoles, and then we have a jumbo package, let's put it that way. So that's how we're going to do this. Before we get into it though, if you guys could do me a favor, like this video, comment down below, subscribe if you've never done that before. I appreciate the support. Social media stuff is in the description: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, all that sort of stuff. Always appreciate it. And I have a brand new channel about flying and eating, which is all about adventuring and seeing the world and eating random stuff when you get there. And if you like my content, I would really very much appreciate the support over there. And you get to just see elements of the world you may not have seen before, and you can do it for free. So I appreciate the support. And you get little bits of it throughout this show, obviously, because I you know, get stuff from around the world in different places. But yeah, you can see the full thing play out over there. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. So this, technically the very beginning of this pile actually comes from October, but that's only because I was unable to include it in last month's video, because I was a guest at a convention called Pinball Expo, which is like a big, I think it's the biggest pinball show or slash arcade show that happens in the United States. It happens to be here in Chicago where I live, and they asked me to be a guest, even though that really isn't my base. They were just like, hey, you want to be there? And I was like, all right, fine. So like 95% of that show was pinballs and arcade cabinets and stuff, and it was fun. I actually had a good time. I got to play some stuff I hadn't played since I was a kid. Like, there's some pinball machines like my uncle had and stuff like that. But also Galloping Ghosts is there, and if you know anything about arcades, Galloping Ghosts is like the biggest arcade in the world. They also happen to be based in Chicago, mostly because Midway and Bally in the day used to be based here. So there's a lot of arcade history here. Anyway, so they brought a bunch of their stuff, and one of the things they brought was the Beavis and Butthead game, which I actually played. Terrible game. This game was never released. This is the only known copy of it to exist, still anyway. And they just had it, so I got to play it for a while. But when you play it, you get, like, it could have come out, and it could have just been a really mediocre game that nobody remembers. The only reason it's worth acknowledging is just because that's it. It's just the one copy. But aside from that, yeah, no, it was just kind of a fun show. There wasn't a whole lot of, like, retro gaming dealer table stuff there. There was one guy, and we'll get to him in a second. But I just thought I'd show you some of the random stuff they gave me. So in addition to my badge, they also gave me this, like, little, like, crystal, like, award type of thing. I wasn't expecting that. It was just sitting there once I, like, went to my panel. So that was cool. So thank you to them for that. They actually gave me a whole bunch of, like, certificates and paperwork and stuff. Like, there's, like, a diploma type of thing in here for, you know, I don't really know. Certificate of appreciation for having been a guest and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of little things like that, which are just kind of neat, but that was just nice of them to do. I also got a copy of Old School Gamer magazine, which, keep an eye out. I might have something more to do with that in the future. I also got back my Superstars Award from Walter Day. If you're like, what are you talking about? Have you ever noticed this little card just sitting up here in the frame? That's a picture of me. And one of those, like, Superstars Walter Day cards. There's actually another one right there with Terry Diebold, the RIP, the late Nintendo PlayStation prototype owner. So Walter Day gives out these, like, awards, and I actually won one back in whatever it was, like, August of 2019. I was at Mo GameCon, and they gave me one. And it had, like, this nice framed thing. I'll show you a photo of it here. But after that event, after I got it, they were like, we made a mistake. We have to sign something on it, and then we'll give it back to you. But it got lost at some point. So for years, I was like, they made a mistake of giving it to me. But he was like, no, it was a legit mistake. So they couldn't find it, so they just made me a new one. Unfortunately, without the fancy frame. But there you go. There's my my trading card award ceremony's official certificate of cool or nerd. I don't know, probably more nerd. But either way, it was cool to get one of these again. So thank you very much to them. And Walter happened to be a guest at the con, so he just gave it to me there. Other guests at the con was like Mr. Rightway, Steve, as well as his wife Crystal. Crystal just gave me this. It's like a little bag with Ninja Turtles on it, and I guess he just maybe put like controllers or something in it. So that was cool of her to do. She just handed it to me, so I was like, "Thank you very much, Crystal." Other random things I got, this one's kind of funny. So Paul Zimmerman, he's like a Guinness record holder for a bunch of different, like, you know, 70s, 80s video games. He just randomly came up to me and he's like, "Yo man, here, I got this for you." He just handed me this. This is a boxed Super Nintendo controller distributed by Blockbuster Video. And this is particularly funny because I have the Sega Genesis version of this. I got it out in California at one point, but he's like, "Yeah, I know you like Blockbuster and all that," so I thought that'd be cool. So he was very nice enough to give me this. Randomly, and this is why you should watch the other channel, I did not expect to be, but I ended up at the last Blockbuster. We're outside the last Blockbuster in Bend, Oregon. Surprise! And we decided to bring some weird things to put in front of it. We have the Atari Jaguar Hot Rod Dental Unit. There's only 7 of these that were ever made. It's a camera system, whatever. I'll do a video on it someday. And of course the Sega Pluto, which is on tour. Why not bring it to Blockbuster? I get around. What can I say? So yeah, thank you very much to Paul. Also got some random GameCube stuff, as well as an Xbox One drink cozy, I think is the word for this. These actually come from Super Nintendo. He's another YouTuber, another retro YouTuber who lives in Chicago. And he was doing some collection purging. He asked me in advance, he showed me a whole bunch of stuff. He's like, "Do you want any of this?" And for the most part, I really didn't, but I was kind of interested in these. So he was like, "Yeah, you can have them." So he just gave these to me for free, which is very nice of him to do. It was Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life, Player's Choice Edition, as well as Metroid Prime, which I have, but this version is the bonus disc one, so it's got a bonus preview disc of Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, or Metroid Prime Echoes. No, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. Yeah. But anyway, so he was cool enough to give me those. So check out Super Nintendo. Obviously a nice guy if he's just going to give some random dork some free GameCube stuff. But aside from all that, I actually did buy a few things. Like I said, there was really only one guy who was selling stuff, and like we were just clicking on all cylinders because I brought the Sega Pluto, so he just thought that thing was like phenomenal to check out. But also, you know, I was the other one being like, "Do you have this?" You know, like most people are there for pinball stuff. So checking out his collection, he had crazy stuff when it came to like, because he had bought a ton of things in Hong Kong and in various parts of Japan as well. And he was like, yeah, his wife was kind of making him purge all their stuff. And so he was like, "Fire sale, let's just get rid of some things." So I didn't go totally insane. I could have gone way worse, but I kept it a tad modest. First thing I got was this. This is for the Konami Antiques MSX collection for the Sega Saturn. This kind of breaks a rule I have, which is I very rarely buy Japanese imports domestically, because I know if I'm ever in Japan, I'm going to find them for way cheaper. But he was selling them for like sub-Japanese prices. He was just trying to get rid of stuff. So I was like, oh, well then. So yeah, this is a collection of MSX games that was released on the Sega Saturn only in Japan. So it's kind of, I'm not going to say it's a rare game by any means, but it's a cool one to pick up because it's not a super common. And it's just a neat collection because MSX doesn't exactly get a whole lot of attention. He also had something that really I just had to get because it was bizarre. This is a sealed Sega CD disc that is about the JVC XI. This is just a preview disc for the JVC XI, but it is Sega CD formatted. And I was like, wow, you never see JVC XI specific stuff. And he had like 3 of these. He had some cool stuff, but yeah, I was like, I gotta get that. He also had a game for a system I only have 2 games for, because you never ever see these. This is the Great Pyramid for the Pioneer Laser Active. I've done a whole video on the Laser Active. It's a very bizarre console. It's, you know, it's a Laserdisc player with a built-in Sega Genesis / Sega CD, or potentially built-in PC Engine / PC Engine CD, TurboGrafx 16, TurboGrafx 16 CD, etc. It's a very strange device. But it had its own specific game library, and it's not big. So to actually find a copy of a game at all was crazy. And so, yeah, he was willing to sell this cheap too. So I was like, done, sold, got that. And the last thing I got from him, well, actually it's not the last thing, but the last thing will have to be in, later. The other thing I got, I should say, was he had a bunch, like I said, he had a bunch of PC Engine stuff, and he had this, and I found it odd. This is a link cable for the PC Engine CD / the Super Graphics. The Super Graphics was a remodel, or think of it as like a PS4 Pro for the PC Engine. Came out in Japan only, was more powerful, it had its own specific library of games, it was only like 8 games or whatever, it really wasn't very extensive. But when they released it, they realized it didn't physically fit into the docking unit for the PC Engine CD. So rather than make an entirely new PC Engine CD specifically for the super graphics, they're like, let's just make this link cable thing. So you just connect it into one and then connect it into the other, and then it'll work. What's potentially cool about this is how it might be able to be useful to link to other devices that aren't necessarily meant to connect, like a TurboGrafx maybe connecting to a PC Engine CD and so on and so forth. I haven't done much with it yet, but again, he didn't really want much for it, so I was like, all right, that sounds cool. He had like a stack of these, and it was with the box and everything, so I was just like, yeah, that's quite neat. But that was my Pinball Expo stuff. Moving on, we got a couple other things that you guys have seen before, so I'm not going to do too much attention on it. The only Xbox game I picked up this month was actually GLADIUS, and if you saw my Xbox backwards compatibility video, you know why I got this. This was one of the few games they added to that list, and oddly, the only one I didn't have, so I just ran out and got that. Like I said in that video, it's just a LucasArts game. It was pretty good for the time, but yeah, I don't remember it all that well personally. I just remember it being kind of a big deal. I got some new Dreamcast stuff. Wolf Flame, I did a whole video on this. You can go check that out. It's a cool shoot 'em up, very similar to Raptor. And Sata ZS Next. This one I will do a video on. It's like right around the corner. It's gonna come out like right after this, so I won't talk too much about it. But I actually did a video on the Wii U version of this like a year ago, if not 2 years ago. Time flies. But anyway, you can check that out too. Now, if you saw my, and those both came from Video Games New York, by the way. So thank you very much, Video Games New York. Now, if you saw my Bahar Bros CMVS Ultra video, which was a video about a consoleized Neo Geo MVS cabinet, you'll know that I only had one game for it, thanks to Tom Revision 2, who hooked me up with a legit copy of Fatal Fury 2. I had to take the device out to Astoria, Oregon, which, again, watch all the travel videos. You'll see all the weirdness that occurs. But when I took it out there, the reason I did was because my buddy Marcus out there, who has a channel called Sunset Hotline, he actually has a ton of MVS games, so it was cool to check all those out. But he also had this multi-cart, and I didn't know if the multi-cart would work. I remember even reaching out to the Bahar Bros being like, would this work? Or would the Terra Onion one work? Because Terra Onion actually makes one too. And he was like, they were like, I don't know. So I tried Marcus's, and it totally worked. And I ended up liking it so much that I went out and I just bought one on eBay. It was not that bad. It was like $65, something like that, shipped from China. Yeah, it's just it's not like a legit multi-cart. Like, it's not like the Terra Onion one, which you put an SD card in and it can support every game. This is like a Chinese pirate clone cart, and it usually is the type of thing I would never do. But in this specific case, I'm not going to put down like $600 for the MVS Pro cart. I'm just not going to do it. And this one just has, like, you know, it just adds, I have some games for it, you know what I mean? So then that's fine. I can live with that. So there you go. It even comes with this little sticker that has a list of all the games that are on it. Naturally, you get some repeats and stuff because these clone carts are always like, oh, it's 161 games, but a lot of the time it's really just like right off the bat, you have King of Fighters 94 and King of Fighters 94 Plus, which just means it's slightly different somehow. I mean, they include everything and say, oh yeah, that counts. So it's not really 161 different games, but whatever. It's fine. It's just more content than I would have had without it. Now, moving on. I got this. This is, well, I didn't actually get this month. This is a TurboGrafx 16 CD with the docking unit. I actually got this quite some time ago. My buddy Jesse and I did a trade, and he hooked me up. But he told me in advance, he's like, it's broken, I can't fix it, which is rare for him. He usually can fix stuff like this. But I was like, don't worry, I got a solution. So I took it down to my buddy Chris in Indiana. He's like the most prolific PC Engine / TurboGrafx 16 repair dudes on the planet. And I hooked him up. I was like, yo, what do you got for me? And he's like, yeah, I got this. And he was like, just, all right, done. It works now. So yeah, this thing is totally solid, 100% functional. He said the base itself was actually totally fine. It was just the CD unit part that needed work, and he had no problems fixing it. So very, very cool. And now I have one of those. Well, I have a functional one of these. But speaking of that platform, and speaking of Terra Onion, this was sent to me by Stone Age Gamer. You guys will see a whole video on this later, but this is the Super HD System 3 Pro. This is a device you connect to the back of a PC Engine, and it basically allows it to replicate, you know, almost like you would say EverDrive functionality. Not exactly like this, but similar in concept, where basically like all the games ever are just like on there. It also supports the CD games. It even supports the aforementioned Super Graphics games. So stay tuned for that video. That one's going to be kind of fun. Now, going on forward to adventures and things. Near the beginning of this month, I went out to Portland, Maine, the lobster town. Went out there and I hung out with my buddy, Xbit Gaming. We can go with that. His name's Jeff. But we went out there and we just decided to do a little game hunting while I was there. And I didn't find a whole lot because we weren't really looking very extensively. Again, there's a whole video about that on the other channel. You can see us eating lobsters and stuff. It's fun. But I got a couple of 360 games. One I got was Blades, which there's Blades of Time, which I guess this was the precursor to that game. I didn't know that. Or Blades X. I actually don't even, it's just Blades. But yeah, I was happy to get that. It was just a couple of bucks. The other one I got was one of those games where you just kind of go, really? I've never seen this before. Is this special? And then after you get it, you realize it's totally not. This is Blazing Angels Squadrons of World War II. Now, I've had this game for years. I actually think this is a really fun game. The reason I picked this up is most of the time when you see this game, there's pictures of like people's heads back there, and this version doesn't have that. And I thought that was odd. And I tried looking it up on like eBay and everything, trying to find any information on a version that has no heads, and I couldn't find anything. So I was like, is this, the only other time I can think of a situation like that, but granted for totally different reasons, was Ubisoft, who made this. They actually made a game called Speed Devils on the Dreamcast. And if you look at that Dreamcast game, it has this little devil face guy on it. But there were certain parts of the country, I guess particularly in like a Walmart in a Texas or something, they decided they wouldn't carry the game unless the devil face was removed. And so there's a version of Speed Devils without the devil. And it's actually a very rare version of the game. And I was like, is this a similar situation? Just nobody knows about it yet? Maybe it is. I'll pick it up. It's cheap. Nobody cares. Then, naturally, after I picked it up here, I saw it eventually. I would see it a couple of times in Texas, and I would also see it a couple of times out in Washington and even Canada. So I'm like, oh, never mind. I guess there was just another variant and it wasn't that big of a deal. My bad. And if you saw the Portland video, that I kind of alluded to the fact that I bought a very strange Blu-ray because I just couldn't believe it existed. I'm just going to show it to you guys even though it's not a video game. Santa with muscles. This is a horrible, and I mean horrible, Hulk Hogan movie that was kind of always just like stuck on VHS. I cannot believe that this got a proper Blu-ray transfer. Because this is bad. I mean, and this comes from somebody who actually likes Suburban Commando and Mr. Nanny. This is terrible. So, yeah, this is one of those, like, if I drank, you just get drunk and watch this, because it's insane. And the cast in it is even crazier, like, the amount of celebrities that are in this movie. And it's like half the cast of That 70s Show before That 70s Show was a thing are in this movie. It's so bizarre. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Santa with muscles. Don't watch it, but you totally should. Anyway, so right after that trip to Portland, I actually went down to Dallas, Texas, and I did videos on this. We went down to the National Video Game Museum. We brought the Sega Pluto with us. We checked out the museum's Sega Pluto, which theirs is different. Theirs is much earlier on, so it doesn't do anything. But they gave me access to the Sega Neptune and everything. We did this little family reunion, if you will. Check those videos out. They're criminally underviewed. I'm the only person ever to have had a hands-on review of the Sega Neptune, and almost nobody has watched it. Go check it out. You're not going to see that again. But anyway, so while we were down there, my buddy Rob and I, or the evil Rob Thanos, he and I decided to do a bunch of game hunting down there. And we did a whole video on all the stuff, all the stores we checked out, and here's what we ended up walking away with, or I did. For the 360, Dark, which I kind of remember this being a comedic horror game, but it's been a while, so I'm not totally sure if that description is accurate. Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, nothing special, but I'm kind of in this thought process that I want to pick up more movie license games, because those are the type of games that never get reissued, or at least extremely rarely. So yeah, if you can get them cheap, why not? We just talked about Blazing Angels. Well, I finally got Blazing Angels 2. I never actually got around to playing this one. So, yeah, this is... I think I'm going to actually have a good time checking this one out again. Or checking it out for the first time, because I checked out the other one. But you get what I'm saying. I'm looking forward to actually playing this. And the last one was Legends of War, Patton. This one was kind of funny, because I never had seen this game before. Ever. As far as I recall. Then I randomly saw it, and I have a witness to this. I saw it in the same store where I bought Santa with Muscles in Portland, Maine. I saw it there, and it was like $40. And I was like, man, is it worth that? I've never seen this game before. Maybe it's like an oddity, whatever. And so we looked it up, and it was like, no, it really should be more like the 20, 25 range, you really shouldn't be paying that much. I was like, all right, I'll pass on it. Wandering around parts of Dallas, then I see it again. I see it at one of the stores there, and they wanted 30, and I was like, okay, that's better, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm quite committed to that yet. I don't know. And so I was like, okay, never mind. I'm not gonna do it. Then we went to a store. It was the store at the very end of the Dallas game hunting video, and they wanted 20 for it, and they were doing like buy one get one free. So I think the game that would have come with it was Dark. Yeah, Dark. Dark would have come with it for free. So I was like, okay, 20 bucks for the pair. I think I could do that. And as I get up to the register, and if you saw that video, then you know why this is funny. Because I went to go buy these, and after I had brought the Sega Pluto into the store just so that the employees could see it and stuff, and we were just chit-chatting and everything. And then the guy rang me up, and then he's like, all right, here you go. I was like, dude, I didn't pay you yet. He's like, you don't have to. And the reason that was hilarious is because Brett Weiss, who's another YouTuber, was like, well, you don't charge Adam Koralik. You can't do that. Like, making fun of me because I get free stuff a lot of the time. And then the guy was like, oh, okay, and just gave me free stuff to make fun of Brett. So it was kind of worked out nice. So huge shout out to that store. Thank you very much. You really did not have to do that. Yeah, that was a good deal. Rob and I went to a couple other places, got some other stuff. I got a Game Gear copy of Streets of Rage 2. I don't collect much Game Gear because I kind of have most of what I want for it. But this is like, I don't know why I never had this one, but there it was, and it wasn't expensive, so I picked it up. And I also picked up a few N64 games. San Francisco Rush Extreme Racing and Indy Racing 2000. Nothing really special about either of these, but they were cheap. I didn't have them. Why not get a couple more N64 titles? Another thing I got sort of in Texas, I saw it in Texas, but I didn't buy it. I just bought it online, is this PS3 game called, you'll forgive my pronunciation because it's in Spanish, Los Caballeros del Zodiaco Soldados Valientes. Sorry, my pronunciation is bad. This is actually a Mexican exclusive game. And we went into this little like flea market type of store, and this guy, his prices were terrible. We talked about that in the video. But he had like 5 copies of this game. We were like looking at like, what the hell is this game? I've never seen this before. Copies online were half the price sealed. His was twice as much used. It made no sense. So I just bought one online, and it was like, I'll have it shipped to me for half of this. But yeah, I have no idea what this game actually is, and I don't really care. It's just there's not too many Mexican exclusive titles. There's a couple here and there. And so, yeah, I was like, maybe one day this will be something somebody cares about, but for the few bucks I paid for it, why not? And the last thing I got down in Dallas was just kind of a nice little thing that was given to me. I know a lot of people have their issues with heritage auctions, but they were the guys who ultimately would go on to sell the Nintendo PlayStation prototype, which we just talked about over there. And they actually, when they were doing that, they had made up this little like pamphlet type of thing they were sending out to prospective buyers. And they had a couple left, and they were cool enough to just give me one. So this is like a nice little documented bit of history about it, and how it was on sale from March 5th to the 8th, 2020 in Dallas. And it just shows a bunch of photos of it. It has like a whole history of the prototype type of thing in it. Shows all the stuff that was in the lot. You know, a lot of great photos, a lot of original articles about when this thing was coming out and its story and all that. Yeah, just a bunch of information, even like interviews with Shuhei Yoshida, just basically talking about it. And yeah, no, it's just a nice little booklet about it. So that was really cool to have. So thank you to the guys at Heritage Auctions. After all of that, I actually did this long trip, as I mentioned. I flew to Sacramento. We drove up to Bend, obviously for Blockbuster. We went out to Portland. We went out to Astoria. We went up to Seattle. We went up to Vancouver. Oddly, in most of that time, I didn't really pick up much except for Vancouver. My buddy Jesse and I were just going around crushing a few value villages, which is kind of like a Goodwill. That chain is called Savers in the U.S. If you've ever been to a Savers, Value Village is the same chain. But anyway, so we went up there, and I just got a couple of 360 games we just randomly found. We got Sniper 2 Ghost Warrior, as well as Eternal Sonata. Each one was a couple of dollars Canadian. It really wasn't that big of a deal. Package time. So most of these I know what they are, and some, I think one in particular I have no idea what it is, but we'll start with one we definitely know what it is. This comes from Singapore. This is actually from a company called Leoful. They do like Switch games, physical editions of Switch games for parts of Asia, and they just kind of sent me a random copy of this. And the reason we're bringing them up, other than just the fact that it was nice of them to do that, is that they were also cool enough to give me a few the keys of this game. So if this game interests you, all you have to do to potentially win one is comment below that you want to win it, and I can hook you up with a digital version of it, potentially. I believe they gave me 3 keys. But here you go. From Leoful, we've got... Let me just open it up here. This is Alpaca Ball. Yep, Alpaca Ball. So not only is it this game, which if you want the physical edition, and I don't blame you for that, because obviously I'm very pro physical media, they obviously know that, because like even though we have digital keys, here's a physical edition in a language you don't speak, but I think the game might be dual language, but I'm not totally sure about that. But not only do they give me this game, it also seems to come with a few different cards. Oh, these are like postcards. These are kind of cool. Yeah, alpacas playing various, looks like soccer or football. let's keep it real. It's football. Our football is hand egg, and hand egg sucks. I said it. But yeah, if you want this, the physical edition, I'll put a link in the description so you can check that out. Thank you to the guys. This is actually pretty neat. But if you are interested in getting potentially winning a free digital edition of this game, I'll just remember to comment below that you want it. And I'll do like a random drawing, and I'll contact the winners. But yeah, huge shout out to Leoful. They didn't have to do that at all. They just hooked me up. So thank you very much. It was very nice of you. This is from Retro Fighters. Retro Fighters is cool. They just send me stuff, but they're a little bad about this because they never tell me what they're sending me. Just stuff appears in my mailbox, and I'm like, okay. So that's what we got here. Let's go ahead and take a look. And Retro Fighters typically makes like controllers. They made other like Switch accessories and things like that. This doesn't feel like it would be either of those things. Actually, it feels like a Switch game, if I'm honest. But it's exactly what it is. It's a Switch game. This is a robot named Fight. Oh, by Premium Edition Games. Right on. Premium Edition Games. That's run by Barry and Jeff. I hung out with them at Too Many Games. Actually, I see them all the time. Especially Jeff. Jeff just shows up at everything, just like me. But yeah, Premium Edition Games. They're kind of like limited run games, but that's their own thing, and they're another indie dev / publisher for the Switch. Yeah, sorry, I don't know anything about this particular game. It's got a nice black label and stuff, though. Very cool. Yeah, a robot named Fight. So there you go. If you want this, I'll put a link to this in the description. Yeah, you can pick up various Switch games. I'll put links in there as well. No keys for this one, unfortunately, but nonetheless, it is a thing. You can have this now. So very cool. Thank you very much to Retro Fighters. I was totally not expecting that. Next thing up, this one comes from Spain. And this one is a little strange, and it's probably one of those things that will maybe have some value to the right audience eventually. There we go. Throw all this on the ground. This is a Dreamcast prologue for a new upcoming indie game called Non-Casual Encounter. Though the game is Spanish, so again, forgive my pronunciation. Encuentro no Casual. High school Spanish, man. Give me a break. But anyway, so this is interesting because this is a game that's currently being worked on. This is not the final game. It's just a prologue. So essentially you can think of it as a demo disc. What's strange about this is a couple of things. One, you don't usually do demo discs for Dreamcast releases anymore. I can't remember the last time that ever even happened, so it's cool. And then the fact that they would take all this time to like actually give it like real artwork and seal it up and all that is crazy. But what's also special about this particular one, and I don't know if you can even buy this. They just mailed this to me. I didn't ask for this. It just kind of showed up. What's interesting about this, though, is that the final build, I do know for a fact, will not have. They just straight up use the Dreamcast logo, and they even use Sega's logo on the back. It says it's not by Sega, but the fact that they use the logo is questionable. We do know now that they're going to remove that on the final build. So this will be one of these like odd things where it came out and they're like, oh, we had to get rid of it because it used the wrong logo or whatever. But that said, it's just cool to have. So I'll have to check this out on my own. But yeah, I guess be aware there's a new Dreamcast game coming called Non-Casual Encounter. And when the final build of it comes out and there's an official release, I'm sure you'll see it on this channel. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the guys who hooked me up with this. That was really Sega Saturno Productions, and you can see what's clearly a mock-up of Sega Saturn Shiro on the back. If you don't know who that character is, shame on you. He's awesome. But speaking of Dreamcast stuff, we got a package from Videogames New York, which, well, that's actually neat. I wasn't expecting that. He made me a cool keychain. It's very cool. But he's got new games in here with it. All of these are going to get separate videos, so we're not going to have a whole lot to say at the moment. I'm just going to kind of give you guys a teaser, and then these little pieces of paper appear to be just informational breakdowns. So I'll just save them for when we do those videos, and I'll give you all the details, but we'll just get a very quick first look at these. We've got Supercharged Robot Volkaiser, which looks like a shoot-'em-up from... Yeah, it looks like a shoot-'em-up for sure. We've got Rocketron, which kind of looks like a Mega Man type of game. And these are just first impressions based on screenshots. I could be very wrong. We'll see when we actually get to playing them, but there you go. And then we've got Tough Guy, which it appears to be a 2D fighting game. Yeah, so we'll have way more information on this later. I promise you all three of these will be getting their own video, so keep an eye out. We'll be covering that, and all the information there will be available to you. But huge shout out to Video Games New York for doing that. And now our last one here, this actually comes from a guy named Knight of Dragon. Now what's interesting about this one is it's not for me. This is actually for my buddy Roger. He's the guy who owns the Sega Pluto prototype. Now, Roger was cool enough to let me borrow it so that we could take it around, originally just to conventions. Actually, the original point was to take it down to Dallas to bring to the National Video Game Museum, and then it was going to be kind of done. But he was like, yeah, hang on to it, do whatever you want, I don't care. And so we were taking it to conventions, and then we started just touring with it. So that was never really the plan, but there's a bunch of photos and footage of me with it in front of like famous things, where I just thought it'd be funny to juxtapose two things that are known but make no sense together. So I'm going to show you guys some kind of unique. We got the Goonies house, a one-of-a-kind house, and well, kind of a one-of-a-kind prototype. You're never going to see the Sega Pluto and the Goonies house together again. There you go. That's what you come to my channel for. Exclusive, unique, bizarre content. This is one of the few spots where you can actually legally walk into the other country and back without it being an issue, because customs is on the other side of this. So the Sega Pluto right now is going to go international. Watch this. America, Canada, and now it comes right back around, back into the United States. The Pluto has cleared customs.
So welcome back to another episode, and I have Adam Koralik over here. What an amazing guest. And do you want to make a video today?
I mean, I've got the Sega Pluto here, but no.
No, I don't want to make a video either.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Nah,
See you.
Nothing to talk about.
Bye. But anyway, so one of Roger's only concerns when we were talking about all this is that he was afraid of like letting people play the Pluto at conventions. He was just like, that's kind of my only, I don't know about that, because he didn't like the idea that maybe like a kid would accidentally tug on the controller or something and then like yank the console or whatever. So he didn't want that, and I was like, no, that's totally understandable. But there is actually a solution for this, and thanks to Knight of Dragon, we actually have said solution. He went ahead and bought this for us. This is the Retrobit officially licensed Sega Saturn wireless controller, the Bluetooth one. Now, I actually did a video about the wired ones that Retrobit did. They were very solid, but I never really used these Bluetooth ones because I don't know, I'm old school. I like having cables. But because of this, that means we can actually use this on the Pluto. People can play it at conventions and so on and so forth, and the console itself doesn't have to be disturbed or moved. So it's kind of the best of all worlds. So technically this belongs to Roger, not to me. But thank you very much to Knight of Dragon for the hookup, because if any of you want to see the Pluto and play it at a convention, you'll have that opportunity. This month in December, as we're getting into December 2021, it is going to be at Kansas City Retro and obviously Kansas City, Missouri. It will also be available at the SAC Gamers Expo in Sacramento, California, although that particular one, it's not going to be playable because the convention doesn't want it to be. They want to keep it behind glass, so that's fine. But down the road, if there's any more, you know, then this is what will be accompanying it. If you're out there and you have connections to any sort of retro gaming convention and you want to see the Pluto, just message me. Like, we're very willing to travel with it. Any convention, I don't really care. And we'll see what happens. If people care, it'll show up to stuff. If they don't care, it'll go back in Roger's basement. It's kind of whatever happens. But it's out there now. It's an option. You just let me know. And if you're like a guy who's like, I don't work at a convention, but I'd love to see this thing, tell whatever convention is around you that you'd like to see it. If enough people are like, hey, get that dork from YouTube. He's got the Pluto. I want him there. Not seriously, that's how guys who run conventions, that's how they even know people want those guests, is they just message them. So if you want to see it, or me, just tell them. Hey, post-production Adam here. While I was in there editing, I randomly got a package and I had no idea what it was, so I just opened it. And it was this. It was a copy of Bladestorm, The 100 Years' War. This actually comes from GG Retro Gaming. I Didn't know he was sending me anything. Thanks, dude. But yeah, no, I actually don't really know much about this. GG Retro Gaming is really cool. It's an online website guy. I've met him multiple times. He was cool enough to like clean discs for me and stuff for free. And occasionally he just sends me stuff. He seems to be doing that a lot lately. But yeah, just a random 360 game he sent me. I don't have this. I know I don't have this, so I appreciate that. If you want to check him out, there will be a link in the description. He exclusively sells stuff online, although I've seen his store before. I've even shown you guys footage of it in the past. But yeah, no, it's just cool that he was just, you know, he's obviously a cool guy if he's just going to randomly send me a free game. So I thought I'd show you guys. So thank you very much to GG Retro Gaming. And again, there will be a link in the description. Console time. So this may look very standard, but it's not. Well, first of all, you see a Sega Pico. It's never going to be standard. But yeah. All right, so let's just do this. So Pinball Expo, when I was talking about that, and I bought a bunch of stuff from one guy, actually, one of the things I got was a Sega Pico. This is a Sega Pico Model 1. Now, I actually have a Sega Pico, so who the hell needs 2 Sega Picos? Well, nobody needs even one. But the thing was, I had the Model 2, but I never had the Model 1. The Model 1's more common, oddly enough, and it's the one that has more color on it. The Pico Model 2 is, you know, they cheapened out a little bit more. This is, the only reason I got this is because the dude was like, I have 40 of them. 40. He bought them in bulk years ago thinking people might want them, and nobody ever really did. And so he was just purging. This was $5. $5 for Pico. Like, everyone I talked to, like, I was like, the handful of people who were there for retro games was like, that guy's selling Picos for $5. Everybody bought one. Because it was like, the only way you're getting a better deal than that is if just someone just gives it to you for free. Like, $5 is nothing for a Pico. If you've never heard of or seen a Pico, this was Sega's, like, really forgotten console. This was a child-friendly, like, early development type of console. You know, you basically would put games in there. It has this little interactive thing, and then obviously it has video out to a TV. It basically uses the same core as a Sega Genesis. Not good, but one of the things that's interesting about it is this is the only time, so you know how Sega now makes games for like the Nintendo Switch, and they've been making games for Nintendo for years. This is the only time in history where Nintendo actually made a game for Sega hardware. There was some Pokemon games on this made by Nintendo for Sega. That's about the only thing that's interesting about it. But there you go. That's that. I also got some, let's just be honest, frankly, much better consoles. But these are all kind of different for different reasons. We'll start at the top. This is just a standard slim PlayStation 2. Nothing special about it. You look at the price and you're like, $30 for a slim PS2. It's not what I paid. First of all, I actually got this in a Value Village in Vancouver. So that's Canadian. So $30 Canadian is around like $24 American, but it's actually better than that. So I actually got a couple of different consoles there. You're not seeing the other ones because they're still out on the West Coast because there's projects that's going to happen. Let's just keep it that way. This was the only one I brought back with me. I was planning to just get it for around that $24 because PS2 Slims are now much more expensive than that, even though that's not as cheap as it used to be. But in true Canadian fashion, man, I'm just standing there in line, and this guy walks up to me. He's like, yo, this fell off your console. And I was like, what are you talking about? He just hands me this piece of paper. He's like, yeah, that fell off. I'll see you. And I was like, what? It said it was weird. And then I looked at it. It was a coupon for just that day that was half off of all video game stuff. So this was $15 Canadian, which is like $12 American. So that's a much better deal. So I don't really know if it works or anything like that yet. I assume it does. The PS2 Slims are pretty well built. But I thought, hey, you know, we bought a fat PS2 and then redid the cleaning video. I say we do a new cleaning video on the PS2 Slim. Why not? So there you go. Look forward to that in the future. Now the other ones here are different for a few different reasons. This PS1, much like that TurboGrafx 16 CD you saw, was already mine. However, it's back in my possession, and it's different. I actually, the problem with this unit is it just didn't work. I found it at Goodwill years ago, but the disk drive just kind of crapped out on it. And so I gave it to my buddy Jesse. I was like, can you fix it? And he was having problems trying to fix it. And then out of nowhere, Castlemania Games messaged me. He's like, hey, do you have any interest in doing a video on the X Station? And I was like, yeah. Perfect scenario here. I have a PS1 with a dead disk drive. So he mailed the X Station to my buddy Jesse, and Jesse installed it, and here it is. Now, if you're not familiar with the X Station, it's an ODE. You replace the disk drive with basically an SD card device, and then you preload that, all your games on there. Yeah, obviously this is going to get its own video, so just sit tight. So this is just kind of teasers for what's going to be happening down the line. Oh, and then we have this like minty fresh looking OG Xbox. Well, what could be special about that? Don't tell me you modded it, because that's old hat. I know all about that. Yeah, you're right, that is old hat. What's not super old hat though is what's on the back. Native HDMI out. Oh yes, this is called the Xbox HD Plus. Getting its own video. Getting its own video. I just want to give you guys a sense of what's coming, and oh, it's nice. It is so nice. But anyway, what am I most excited about? And this is how you know I'm a lunatic, because I've got this thing that nobody ever has. I found cheap PS2, you got modded PS1s, modded Xboxes, but this is the thing that I'm the most excited about. This story goes back a little bit. At the beginning of the year, I got messaged by a guy named James who was like, hey man, I have this thing I'd love you to have. I'm happy to send it to you. And I was like, oh, you don't have to do that. And he was like, no, I want to do it. And then, you know, I was like, all right, if you're sure. And he was supposed to send it, but he just never did. He just kind of forgot about it. It never happened. And of course, I'm not going to follow up on something like that. And also, to be honest, I completely forgot. When I went down to Dallas, you know, as I do, I just kind of tweet and like, here I am, I'm in Dallas, blah. And he actually commented on it. He's like, you're in Dallas right now? And I was like, yeah, man. And he's like, dude, I'm 20 minutes away. If you want that thing, I'm happy to go bring it to you. And he was cool enough. He showed up to the hotel lobby. He brought this. I let him hold the Sega Pluto. His name is James. Very nice guy. We had a nice conversation. We hung out for a bit. And then he left. And he left me with this. And here it is. The Samsung Nuon with a remote control. No games and no like legit controller, but it's just cool to actually have the Samsung version. So if you don't know what the Nuon is, I don't blame you. This is the 6th gen console that nobody remembers. I did a whole video on the Toshiba version of this. I even did a cleaning video. I'll see what I can do with this one. Maybe we'll do a cleaning video or something like that. The thing is, nobody really cares about cleaning videos for obscure consoles they've never heard of. I mean, to Xbox's credit, so they just did their 20th anniversary. They did this lovely tweet with all 4 of the 6th gen consoles together, like, you know, in peace and harmony, and all I could think was, man, the Nuon hate is real. Nobody remembers this thing. But that said, you know, just cool to have one, so I'm looking forward to actually tinkering with it. So James, seriously, dude, huge shout out to you. Huge shout out to Stone Age Gamer again for hooking me up with this. Huge shout out to Castlevania Games for this, well, and Jesse for doing the work on that. I guess a random Canadian good citizen for giving me a nice coupon code, and you know, down to the people at or the dude at Pinball Expo. So this package actually comes from Power Up Gaming. My buddy Justin, he runs a company down in North Carolina where he does mods and repairs and all sorts of great stuff for video game consoles. I actually gave him this like a year ago, and it was just one of these things where it just took time because you needed the right pieces, you needed the rest of this and that and whatever. But he got it done. It's here. He actually, to his credit, he sent it to me like a month ago. I just hadn't had time to do anything with it. But this is going to be its own video. I'm just giving you guys like the teaser. So let's cut right into it and take a look at this retro awesomeness. Hopefully we get... Oh, as he always does, he threw in a pack of nerds. I think he's just really insulting me. He's telling me what I am. I get it, dude. Justin, I'm a nerd. I got it. No, I'm just kidding. But underneath 1,000,000 pounds of bubble wrap and all this, there's... Oh, that's the extra, I think. I'll get back to that. Let me get this out of here. Okay. Perfect. So here's your first clue. This is a hard drive. Actually, what this is, well, originally it was an SSD. He just put a spare in there. This is the... Oh yeah, no, sorry. This is 2 different things. This is an original 60 gigabyte hard drive. This is nothing. This is actually a spare 2 terabyte SSD. We'll get back to that. And here is the main course. Let's cut through. Here she is. A PS3. A big 60 gigabyte originally PlayStation 3. Now what's special about this goes back quite a ways, but I bought this in Japan for like $50 or something like that. I showed it in a video at the time. The cops do not like what I'm about to tell you. That's why you're going to hear them, because this is a hacked PS3. Yeah, it actually worked fine except for the DVD laser didn't function. And so originally I was just like, do you think you could fix that? And he was like, yeah, no problem. And when I gave it to him, he was like, is there anything else you want to do with it? And I was like, hacking PS3s is a thing, right? And he's like, yes. And so, long story short, that's what we did. We got him a 2 terabyte SSD to put in it, but then he was like, turns out the system just really doesn't like this thing. So we changed it up. It now has a 1 terabyte SSD, which is not as good as I was hoping, but it's not really a problem. But basically, we'll do a whole video, of course, but the thing can now read, you know, basically burned games if you want. You can install games to it. It's now region free when it comes to PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. It can you can play burned PS1 and PS2 games as well. So it's kind of the ultimate PS3 because it'll play everything PS1, PS2, and PS3. At least that's my understanding. And you can install stuff directly to the hard drive as well. So my only plan for this is actually just to preload it with PlayStation 2 stuff because it's still the best way to play PS2 games is this, but now all my PS2 stuff will work on it. So you might as well just think of this as a really souped up PS2. But time enough for that eventually when it gets its own video. I just want to give you guys, once again, the little teaser. So thank you very much to my buddy Justin at Power Up Gaming. Thank you to Castlemania Games. Thank you to Stone Age Gamer. Thank you to James. Thank you to the people at Pinball Expo, Mr. Rightway and Crystal, the people at... well, all the people who run stores in Dallas and, you know, Portland, and my buddy Jeff at XBit. Thank you to my buddy Jesse. Of course, thank you to Videogames New York for the Dreamcast stuff. Thank you to Leo Full and Premium Edition Games / you know, in this case, Retro Fighters. Thank you to Night of Dragon for the Saturn stuff. Thank you to the dude in Spain, I can't remember, Saturn Shiro Games Production, sorry. Thank you to all those people, awesome as always. Thank you so much to everybody. Thank you guys very much for watching, as always. Please, again, check out the other channel, see all the flying and adventuring and craziness that was over there. Follow me on the social media stuff in the description, you know, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, etc. Please like, comment, subscribe, and comment for real if you want to win a copy of Alpaca Ball. That can happen. It can be a thing. You just have to comment and say you want it, and then there's a possibility you'll get it. So you never know. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you all later.